Yep, it's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation. No, I'm just kidding. I have a little upcoming opportunity for you guys to kind of participate in what I do on my channel if you'd wish. So, y'all have probably noticed over the last few outings, we've definitely preferred to go chasing 0823, what's left of the Juice Train. And you may also notice that we seem to hit the same kind of spots every time. And whether this gets boring to you guys or not, I don't know. And I'm giving you an opportunity to possibly change that. So, I have come up with a little activity that we could try. Something along the lines of interactive Juice Train. And basically, what I'm going to allow you guys to do is... and there will be a link in the description for the starting Google Maps coordinates. And if you guys have some spare time, you can go to that link and it'll take you to where the Palmetto sub starts out of Bradenton. So you can follow that with Google Earth, Google Maps, whatnot. Just follow it up and find some spots along there using street views and whatnot that you would like to see me shoot the Juice Train or another train at. And you can email me right here. Here's my Gmail, so you can have fun with that. First, the only real requirements for this email is that go ahead and when you find a spot, put a pinpoint on Google Maps where you want, and then send me either the coordinates on the map or a link to the page that you put the pin on, so I can see where your location is. Secondly, in the subject portion of the email, make sure it says something along the lines of interactive Juice Train, because otherwise I'll probably write it off as junk mail, because I do tend to get some junk mail from time to time. You can put anything else in the email you'd like. If you want to leave your name, I could give you credits for the location in the video, or you can remain anonymous. That's up to you. You can put questions, whatnot, just anything else you want in the email, but the only requirements are that it has a way for me to get to the location you chose via Google Maps, and the subject reads something along the lines of interactive Juice Train. And hopefully here soon, I'll be able to do the videos for the results of interactive Juice Train. Also, one more thing, I'd only like about 1 or 2 locations per email or submission per person, because depending on how close these locations are, I don't want to have 50 locations for one chase and have certain ones be so close that there's no way for us to efficiently leapfrog the train and have enough time to set up at one spot to the next in enough time. Now, even with 1 or 2 locations per submission, that could still happen. And the only real way around that is to either wait for another day and another Juice Train to shoot that other spot, or get another train there, like say 0750 or something else that runs that way. So, any other questions about this little activity, shoot them at me in the comments of this video, or in the email itself, that's no problem. I've listed the requirements. My email and Google Maps starting link will be in the description of this video. So let's get to the real content of this one.
So the rail fanning begins, and on the cloudy Saturday morning of October 10th, 2020, we are coincidentally starting our day with another Juice Train, just north of the BB&T Bank in downtown Palmetto, just south of where the old Palmetto Diamond once stood. 082310 has 2 GE ES4400 locomotives assigned to pull this 30-car long loaded Juice Train north out of Bradenton to Tampa. Cars long, you say? That's a bit long for the Juice Train these days. Unfortunately, that's true. These days, the Juice Train is averaging 10 to 15 cars a day, but today he was almost double that at 30. No mixed freight on the bottom or head of this train either, so a solid in both commodity and quality train headed north out of Bradenton. Now speeding through the backwoods of Sun City, Florida, these guys have got an abnormally long train today, but they ain't wasting no time as they fly across Nellian Drive. Escalating things pretty quickly, after that we abandoned the Juice Train and made our way up here to Vitis Junction, arriving to this thing, a limited clear, which will direct a soon-to-be southbound train off of the Wildwood subdivision onto the Wildwood subdivision again to the right, and eventually connecting with the Yeoman subdivision down in Zephyr Hills, where this train is ironically headed. In just about 20 minutes, down comes A782, a daily local out of Wildwood that can switch customers north or south of the yard between the limitations of Zephyr Hills and Ocala. Today, he was headed down to Zephyr Hills. 2 covered hoppers in tow filled to the brim with feed products bound for Cal, Maine in Zephyr Hills. These guys would be down on the Yeoman subdivision for about an hour and a half switching Cal, Maine before they would return back north. But the levee wasn't dry yet. Not long after 782 passed, the other signal also improved, an approach limited, which would direct another soon-to-be southbound train off of the Wildwood subdivision, this time onto the Vitis subdivision, to head eastward toward Lakeland. On a normal day, there is absolutely no way that you would have seen this train, but we lucked out with this one. After the fair portion of half an hour, X45310 showed up. Though this would normally be an extra set of Q453, which is a daily mixed freight from Waycross, Georgia to Miami, this was a solid 11,000 foot long train of loaded auto racks. This train had traffic for all of Central Florida's automobile distribution centers: Palm Center, Orlando, and Tampa. We will end up seeing today's regular run of Q453 later today, and this will explain why he will not have any auto racks today. Here is kind of a cool prospect to look at, because it's a unit train mixed with the very opposite, precision scheduled railroading. This train, though hauling only one commodity, has 3 destinations traffic on one consist. He's turning left here at Vitis, where he will drop off Orlando and Tampa's traffic at Winston Yard, before later this evening continuing south to Palm Center with those auto racks. Then later tonight, locals will take the traffic from Winston to Tampa and Orlando. As the old mechanical crossing bells at Melrose Avenue activate with their just-as-old electronics, they signify the return of A782. Now speeding his way back north to Wildwood, he has picked up 3 empty hoppers from Cal, Maine, and he's got plenty of power for this job. A couple more hours pass, and one more train would light up the scanner, the regular run of Q453. We moved up to the Dade City depot for this one. We were running short on time, but the wait for this kind of afternoon light was definitely worth it. This train is primarily Miami industry, as well as feed and fertilizer for Okeechobee, and judging by the amount of covered hoppers on this train, Okeechobee's got some popping off business right now. Pretty cool for today as well. There was a distributed power locomotive setup for this train. Here's a common misconception with DPUs that I've mentioned a few times. Most commonly seen in instances like these, where one engine is at the front and one is in the middle or on the end, the DPU configuration isn't used because extra power is needed or the train is too heavy, but simply because the train handling is much easier this way. Because if CSX wanted to, they could have easily just tacked these two engines to the front and had more than enough power to get this train over the road. But since they both have DPU capabilities, and running with DPU setups is much easier and preferable, they set it up like this. And that would end our day for October 10th. Also, a quick note before I end this one off. It was a big honor of mine to finally meet this awesome gentleman, J.R. Hibbard. He's one of the main personnel who dictate operations at the Dade City Heritage Museum, which I have recently learned is open on what I believe to have been Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. They have model railroad setups and all sorts of other historical aspects inside the 1912 built depot. So, if you're ever around during the daytime on either of those days, be sure to stop on by. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. Since we would be up this way the very next day anyway, we would be back out to where we began this video on October 11th, out for another juice train, because this one had a nice surprise in the lead, CSX GEVO number 5461, one of CSX's sticker engines, this one having a sticker for the since-passed Seaboard System Railroad, which ended up becoming one of the letters in CSX. Some of you out there may or may not have asked before, what does CSX actually stand for? In the abstract, it's quite simple. It symbolizes the two railroads which came together to form the company. The C for the Chessie System, the S for the Seaboard System, and X for Combined. And so it is today, CSX. A substantially smaller juice train today, only 12 cars worth of OJ headed out today, and he's got that mixed freight on the bottom again. However, for whatever reason, they threw 3 engines on this train, the middle AC 4400 having just come off of a K423 a few days ago. Why they stuck it in between these two GEVOs from Q441 the night before to go on 823 is beyond me. But hey, I don't have anything to complain about. 3 engines on the juice train, not a common sight these days, especially with 12 cars of orange juice. After the juice portion, he's got the mixed freight on the bottom, most of this being from Seminole Gulf. Those 2 open top hoppers being loaded with plate glass off of Seminole Gulf system, the 2 LPG tank cars being empty, having just been unloaded on the Seminole Gulf, the covered hoppers having been empty, being once loaded with plastic for Seminole Gulf also. I'm going to have to do some more research on the SGLR gondola because the Sarasota branch just fairly recently started getting these. And the 3 center beams could have been from either Seminole Gulf or 84 Lumber in Bradenton. Most likely Bradenton. By the time we get to Port Manatee, these guys have had plenty of time to get their train up to speed. And with 3 engines and under 25 cars, they've got way too much power for this job, so they weren't pulling out of a stop, they were flying. Our final spot is one that I also tend to frequent because of its historic value. The fixed approach signals, which will warn southbound trains of the approaching Little Manatee River swing span. That's US 41 flying overhead down there to the south. I also learned just recently, thanks to Danny Harmon's recent production of The Juice Train from 1997, that this signal used to be a semaphore, as I believe most of these were at one point or another. Either way, to still have one of these standing in the searchlight style in 2020 is definitely something to recognize. Like I said, this would be our final shot of this train today, so this would end today's outing and today's video for right now, because as you know, there will definitely be another one soon, but I've got to get some more trains before I can get another video out. As for the interactive juice train, I would like the deadline for emails to be October 30th, and sometime within a month after that deadline, I'll have a video out for that interactive portion. I appreciate you watching this video as always, and in Ruskin, Florida, this is Kotabeaner, and I'll see you next time on the Sunshine State Rails.